Expect Delays is a two-player, light strategy game about the joys of riding public transit. Players take on the role of commuters trying to get to work on time, but they have to navigate a broken and often failing subway system to get there. To win the game, players need to either be the first player to reach 10 destination points, or to be the player with the most destination points when every train card in the subway deck has been taken out of service and the whole system grinds to a halt. Each player's turn is broken down into 3 phases: the action phase, the disembark phase, and the upkeep phase. During the action phase, players may take 2 out of any 5 possible actions. Those actions are boarding a subway line, running a subway line, taking a train card out of service, repairing a train card, or performing a service advisory action. To board a subway line, players spend 2 fare swipes to put one of their commuters onto the starting station of either of their 2 lines. One player is going to run the uptown lines, and the other player is going to run the downtown lines. Their commuters cannot board each other's train lines. To run a subway line, players may discard from their hand any number of subway cards with that line symbol. For instance, if I wanted to run the orange subway line, I could discard these 2 cards from my hand and move all tokens on the line forward 2 stations. Because I discarded a double line card like this one, I would also move any commuters on the blue subway line 1 station. If instead I wanted to take a subway card in my hand out of service, I could, for instance, choose this orange subway card and put it off to the side here in the out of service area. Out of service cards will never be shuffled back into the deck, unlike cards that are discarded, which will be shuffled back into the deck. In addition, whenever a train card is taken out of service, players earn fare swipes equal to the fare swipe symbols at the top of the card. The opposite of the out of service action is the repair action. Simply return any card in the out of service area to the discard pile. Now it will be shuffled back into the deck. One of your main goals in this game is to keep your opponent's train cards out of this deck and make sure that your own train cards are kept in repair. Some service advisory cards, like Holiday Weekend, provide a new action that players can take on their turn. This one allows you to board a tourist onto the starting station of either of your opponent's lines. I'll explain more about tourists a little bit later. Once a player has completed their action phase, they move on to the disembark phase. At this point, a player may choose to disembark as many commuters from their subway lines as they would like, no matter where they are on the line. Players may never disembark tourists during this phase. To disembark a commuter, simply remove them from the station and return them to your pool of pieces. You earn destination points depending on the number of the station they managed to make it to. In this case, 1 destination point. In addition, for every commuter you choose to disembark during the disembark phase, you may board 1 tourist onto the starting station of either of your opponent's lines. Tourists are blocking pieces. You can only ever have 1 token on a subway station at a time, so in order to board a new commuter onto the station, you will first need to run the line and get tourists out of your way. Unlike commuters, tourists are never disembarked. They want to see all the stops, so they ride to the end of the subway line, fall off the end, and are returned to the pool. Once a player has chosen to disembark as many commuters as they would like, they end their turn by discarding any cards they have left in their hand and drawing a brand new hand of 3 cards. Turn then passes to the next player. If during your upkeep phase there are not enough train cards in the deck to draw a new hand of 3 cards, the discard pile, but not the trains in the out of service pile, are shuffled back together and form a new deck. Anytime you need to shuffle the train deck, you immediately turn over a new service advisory card. Some service advisory cards, like Fare Hike, are events that just change the rules of the game. Fare Hike says that now boarding actions cost 3 fare swipes instead of 2. At this point, I'd like to walk you through a brief turn of the game, just so you get a sense of how it might play out. At the start of the game, both players begin with 3 train cards in hand, a service advisory flipped over, and the downtown player, who will play second, starts with 2 fare swipes. The uptown player gets to go first. Looking at their hand, we see that they have a yellow, orange, and pink train. The yellow and orange train are worth 1 fair swipe each, and currently this player does not have a way to board commuters, so earning fair swipes is their primary goal. They will use their first action to break the yellow train, even though it is one of their lines, and earn 1 fair swipe. They will then use their second action to break the orange train, and earning a second fair swipe. At this point, this player is out of actions. They move to the disembark phase, but they have no tokens to disembark, and they move to the upkeep phase. Their remaining pink card in hand is discarded, and they draw a brand new hand of 3 cards. We'll see those later. For now, we'll jump over to the downtown player. The downtown player began the game with a yellow card worth 3 fair swipes, an orange card worth 2, and a blue card worth 2. Let's say this player is focused on getting fair swipes. For their first action, they're going to break their opponent's yellow train, because they don't want that in the deck, and earn 3 fair swipes. For their second action, they will break their opponent's blue train, and put that into the out-of-service pile as well. This would earn them 2 fair swipes, but there's only 1 left. The subway has run out of budget, but they still get the 1 that's left. They've used both of their actions, and they too have no commuters to disembark. So they discard what's left of their hand, and draw a new hand of 3 cards. At this point, we will once again jump back over to the uptown player. On this turn, the uptown player has a pink train worth 3, an orange train worth 3, and an orange and blue train card worth 1. Now this player can start to earn some points. They're going to pay 2 fair swipes, and board one of their commuters onto the starting space of their blue line. That's their first action. For their second action, they will discard the card with the blue symbol on it. There are no commuters on the orange line, so none of them will move forward and it won't help their opponent. But they have 1 commuter on the blue line who will move forward 1 station. This card is then discarded. Their actions complete, they move to the disembark phase. This player is going to choose to disembark this commuter. That earns them 1 destination point, and because they have disembarked a commuter, they also get to put a tourist onto one of their opponent's lines. With the track fire freezing the orange and yellow lines currently, it might be a good idea to put them onto the pink line, which is the only subway line that their opponent could run right now. Their disembark phase complete, they discard their hand of 3 cards, and they will draw another 3. Play will then continue until one player either earns 10 destination points, or there are not enough train cards between the discard pile and the train deck to ever draw a hand of 3 cards, because they've all been taken out of service. At this point, the game would immediately end, and whoever had more destination points would win the game.